What I want to ask you, Jordan, is about the role of education here. So it seems to me that what the meaning that people are finding in your work, that you can listen to in a podcast, you can while you're doing a long run drive across the prairies or wherever it may be. But it seems to me that the deconstruction of our culture by a worldview that has denied the integrity of the individual, that has denied the individual's relation to the transcendent, to any stable knowing, denied the dignity of the individual, that deconstruction, it's not for no reason that the postmodern view calls itself deconstruction. That has very deconstructive effects, in my view, in the world. It seems to me that the rebirth of or the renaissance of a more adequate, a more fully human culture depends on more than, it depends on institutional life. We need cultural forms, we need architecture. There's all kinds of, a full culture is a complex, an infinitely complex structure. But I think we've, as it were, deleted out the memory banks in so many profound ways. And so what I'd like to ask you about is we
still have the libraries.
We still have the libraries. Well,
thank God for that.
Well, thank God for that. And that's where I want to turn to education, because you say, at one point you say that we need to rescue the treasure trove of the past. Rescue the values of the treasure trove of the past and to integrate them. And I suppose I'd like to ask you about the role.
That's what the universities are for, is to remind people, to lead people to doing that. I mean, we wandered around Cambridge today, and you showed me King's Chapel, for example, which is so beautiful that it's just beyond belief. And that's a call, right? It's a call to a mode of being. And Socrates believed that all learning was remembering. And it's true in the sense that we just discussed, is that through encounter with the tragedy of life and the malevolence of life, that more of you will come to manifest itself. But that can be facilitated by your incorporation of the greatness of the past. So you say, well, each great philosopher, each great thinker is a fragment of the ultimate ancestral being. It's a fragment of God the Father, let's say. And you get a fragment from Nietzsche, and you get a fragment from Plato, and you get a fragment from Wittgenstein, and you get a fragment from Shakespeare. And there's something, imagine this, there's something that makes all those people great. It's whatever greatness is. And it's broken up across all of them. But if you're exposed to each of them, then you absorb what you're exposed to and have the possibility to imitate and absorb that greatness across its fragmentation across many people. And then that can come to awaken that within you. And that is the purpose of the universities. And the reason for that, it isn't something casual. It's like, well, it's good to be more, if you go to university and you take a humanities degree, you'll come out more well-rounded. You know, it's such a weak way of putting it. It's that, no, you wake up and realize who you are, and then you're ready to take the world on your shoulders.
Yes.
And that's what the universities are here. And that's what students are dying for that.
Yes.
That's why men are abandoning the universities, is because that call isn't there.
Yes. Well, there's no answer to the call. You might say, it seems to me that the wave is the longing for that call to be answered. And it seems to me that our universities have failed us. And not only failed us.
Doing it
exactly.
They're antithetical to it.
You might call them the water main that is distributing a worldview that is corrosive of what is best in the human being.
Well, the doctrine, so one of the fundamental doctrines of the collectivist leftists, especially on the feminist end of things, is the idea that Western culture is a patriarchal tyranny. And so, first of all, we could say, well, that's inappropriate psychologically, because the way that you represent culture archetypally is with the tyrant and the wise king. And so you can say that there's the tyrant, and that's always true, but you also have to say that there's the wise king. But there's no wise king. There's only a tyrant. Okay, and that tyrant that's all men. It's all male. And so that's a view of history, right? Is that the view of history is that, well, women have, the primary force of oppression in relationship to women throughout history has been men. No idea about the cooperative endeavor of men and women, or their mutual desire to lift each other out of misery, which is a much more accurate way of representing history and a much more grateful and appropriate way. None of that. No, it's a patriarchal tyranny, and men are responsible. Okay, well, so where does that leave young men? Well, let's say young men are attempting to manifest competence in the world and to become good people. Well, there's no good and there's no competence. There's only power, and it's related to the patriarchal tyranny. And so that conflation of competence with power, which is an absolutely pathological move in my estimation, is also the desire to discourage and to devalue and to destroy. And partly it's based on fear, because the idea would be, well, a fully fledged man is nothing but a powerful tyrant and therefore dangerous. Better to emasculate him completely. So he's nothing but harmless. Even though he's useless, he can't do anything that's bad, which is an unbelievably horrifying. That's the castrating mother, the Freudian castrating mother. That's the terrible element of the female body politic. That's the evil queen that's the counterpart to the evil king, something we never talk about. So, and that's what's facing young men, is that at least they're discouraged from becoming what they could be. At least they're not encouraged, but it's worse than that. They're actively discouraged. And so the universities have become, they've become institutions of active discouragement, and especially for men. And so what's the consequence of that? Well, especially in the humanities and social sciences. Well, it's obvious. All you have to do is look at the statistics. All the men are leaving. There won't be a man left in the humanities and social sciences in 15 years at the current rate of gender transformation of the disciplines. And then you see this equally appalling phenomenon occurring, which is that virtually all of the female-dominated disciplines are politically correct. And I think that the reason for that is that the reasonable women don't know how to regulate the behavior of the unreasonable women. The benevolent queen can't regulate the evil queen. And that hatred for the patriarchy, that's the feminist part of the postmodern neo-Marxist monster, has decided that emasculated and weak men are preferable to tyrants. And those are the only options, because there's no such thing as genuine competence. What you want to call young men forward to do is to take their place and say, look, you have to understand, it's not just about you. Is the world will be a lesser place without that which you could reveal to it because of your particularity. And that hole that you leave by the absence of your presence is going to be filled with something terrible. Not just something neutral, but something terrible. And that's on you. And so you have a calling that's vital. And people need that. They die without that.
Yes. It seems to me that the ideology that's dominant in very much the university is not only destructive in all these ways, but just boring. And that its patent inadequacy to our deepest human longings, male, female, of all races and kinds, the deep transcendent longings that we all have, the need for self-longing, for self-knowledge, that ideology is patently inadequate to its satisfaction. What I see in young people today, many young people, and I know you see this in the thousands that you encounter, is they're not interested in fighting some cultural war. They simply want to discover the deepest truth of themselves.